Now, our next guest has been one that is highly anticipated here in the BNN Bloomberg newsroom. He's bullish on India, cautious on China, and bearish on crypto. For more insights into his outlook for 2023, let's bring in veteran investor Mark Mobius, founding partner at Mobius Capital Partners. Thank you so much for taking time to speak to us today. Let's start with China's about-face on its COVID-0 policy and, of course, the ramping up of the Russia-Ukraine tensions. Tell me, this, of course, adds more global uncertainty, but will the fault lines of geopolitics and global health concerns really lead to less deal making? So de-globalization, is that really going to be the focus for 2023?
Well, there's no question that China needs more capital. They need to have foreigners come in to provide them with more capital. So they're going to ease up on COVID. Of course, they've already been doing that. But more importantly, they're going to want to attract foreign capital coming into China. The problem that we have, and I think with a lot of other institutional investors, is that China's attitude towards Taiwan is not very good. They have a belligerent attitude. They're thinking of attacking Taiwan forcefully in order to bring Taiwan into China, and that scares the heck out of a lot of people. So I think a lot of people are going to be very wary about the Chinese market for that reason, and that's the reason why we are more bullish on India. Of course, we're in Taiwan, but even in Taiwan, we have to be cautious about what's going to be happening there if China decides to take some military action.
So just taking a quick look at prices right now, of course, U.S. dollar losing some of its steam, but several global economists don't see a full U-shaped shift in terms of the end of the dollar's dominance into 2023, at least until the second quarter. I mean, do you agree? And tell me, what do you think that's going to be doing for emerging market investors?
Well, one thing for certain is that the Fed is not going to let up. They want to see inflation at 2%. And so we are a long way from that. That means that interest rates are not going to go down. And in fact, they may even going up if the Fed decides that they're not getting the reaction they want to get. So that's number one. However, a lot of the emerging market currencies devalued too quickly and too far. And now they've come back. So you've seen the strengthening of a number of emerging market currencies. So we're taking advantage of this change and looking at companies that are exporting in U.S. dollars and, of course, have their costs in local currency, which have devalued against the U.S. dollar. We don't see much change from here in that respect because the Fed probably is going to continue to keep interest rates high and may even go higher going forward.
Okay, so a strategic investor in this environment who wants to incorporate more of emerging markets into their portfolio, how would they play what you just talked about in terms of those new opportunities?
They've got to focus on India, number one, because India gradually is going to replace China in terms of manufacturing. Of course, India already is a big exporter of software. And of course, going forward, I believe that the hardware is going to move to Indian manufacturing going forward. It'll take time, but it'll happen. So India is number one. And then you've got to look at countries like Indonesia, like Thailand. I'm now here in Thailand, and things are going very well here. And going forward, I think perhaps Brazil, depending on what happens with Lula and his program, he wants to start a program of high spending, but I don't think a lot of that will go through. So Brazil looks pretty good as well.
Now, we can talk about sort of a diversified approach to anyone's investment offerings. And for some, at least in 2023, crypto was part of that big picture view. Looking beyond FTX and increased regulation the industry is obviously going to face in the wake of what's happened over the last few weeks, what is the next investable trend in the crypto space?
Oh, there's no question that crypto is going to continue to come under tremendous pressure because of what's happening with generally, not only with FTX, but a number of other companies are going to go bankrupt. So there are a lot of people that will be losing money in crypto. However, crypto is not dead. There's still a lot of believers, and you're going to see Bitcoin, I believe, would go to 10,000, but who knows? It could continue to stay at 16,000 or 17,000 but generally speaking, it'll be under tremendous pressure. I think people have got to focus on the exchanges, those exchanges that are able to survive and are not playing around with any of the coins. That's very important. Buy finance is interesting, but I'm afraid that even buy finance is fooling around with coins and a number of other operations. A pure exchange business would look quite interesting in the crypto space, I would believe.
Okay, I want to round out our conversation, sort of taking it back to what you mentioned off the top about that threat of China invading Taiwan. How pronounced is it? And do you think the markets are not baking that in terms of global uncertainty for 2023?
Well, I think a lot of people feel that, okay, China may attack Taiwan, but it won't happen soon. So let me take some profits now in China because China is so low. And it's probably going to go up now with the opening of China, dispensing with the COVID business. So let's go into China, make some quick money. So I think that's the attitude of a lot of investors. But I think on the other side, taking a long-term view, we've got to be very cautious.